What do you know about this new PlayStation 4.5 or whatever they're calling it that's coming out? Have they said much about that?
It's all rumors at the moment. That's the one I'm keeping an eye on though, because I haven't bought one yet.
I'll be really pissed if the VR only works with that.
I think that's unlikely. I think they will stick with. They'll stick with allowing it. I think it will work on both, and then it will just be if you've got the 4.5 version or whatever they call it, you'll just get like slightly better graphics or whatever
Better
it is,
frame
CPU
rates
power,
or
that kind of stuff. Yeah. Partly because I think that's one of the biggest selling points for consoles is that you buy one and it will work until the end of time. Like no matter how long it's in production. And games are still being made for it. Every single game that's ever released will always work for it.
Yeah, it feels like a mistake to me for them to be, if this is in fact true, because the PlayStation 4 got off to kind of a slow start. There weren't a ton of games, and it's only now that there's really good franchise-worthy games coming out. It seems like, or at least in the last 12 months or so. So to then release something that some games may be exclusive to it already, only a year to a year and a half after the PlayStation 4 takes off seems like a mistake to me, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. I mean, because they're already taking pre-orders for the VR, aren't they? And they're kind of saying, this will work with the PS4, the current one. So I can't see them changing their mind now. I mean, they've had these huge, this huge demand for the pre-orders. It's very unlikely they're going to just release a new one and say, oh, sorry, you need to buy a new console.
You didn't order one VR, did you?
No. I haven't even got a PS4 at the moment.
Oh,
so.
God, I always forget what you've got. You've got the X-Bone.
Yeah, I've got the X-Bone. So,
all right.
I was going to get a PS4 pretty soon for Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
But after seeing these rumours, I'm a bit like, you know what? Maybe I can wait a few more months and see what comes out of that.
Well, see, that's part of the problem, though, because if someone waits and they get a new PlayStation, say in whatever October or November for $400 or $500, they're not going to then turn around and spend another $500 on VR.
No, that is true, but who knows? I guess I'm hoping we might get something solid out of Sony at E3, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's right after WWDC, I think. Because my youngest always wants to go to E3. I was like, sorry, I just got back from WWDC. And I don't really know why I would go to E3. You can watch most of it on YouTube or whatever anyway.
Absolutely. Should we get on with the show then?
Yeah, we should get on with the real show that talks about whatever. Go for it, Rob.
This is episode 17 of Ruminate. I am Rob Lewis, and I'm losing my voice a little bit, so I apologise about that. And with me, as always, is John Voorhees. Hi, John.
Hey, Rob. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. As I just mentioned there, I'm getting a little bit losing my voice, so hopefully it doesn't sound too bad.
No, you sound fine. I'm a little stuffed up still, too. Still fighting off a cold. It's I don't know what's going on. Probably the problem is I've been working too hard.
That's probably sounds about right, John. You've been writing. You have your real jobby job. You're doing other things. So, I think you need to slow down a little bit.
I'm going to slow down a little bit. Yes, I'm going to blame it on the Apple event on the 21st. How about that?
Let's blame it on that. That seems like a good idea.
It was the least of my troubles, but in any event. So we've got a little bit of follow-up from before, and one of our favorite topics always is talking about Netflix. And I guess Netflix is starting to really clamp down on the UK, and I assume other parts of the world, Europe and whatnot too, but what do you know?
Yeah, so I think the first time we spoke about this a few episodes back, there'd been some reports that people in some of mainland Europe, Spain and France, places like that, had started seeing messages saying you're using a VPN, you need to turn it off or you can't access Netflix. And then I guess it was a few days ago, maybe last week, I went to watch something on Netflix, which was using the VPN so I could access US, and I got the message, and I kind of just sat there and cried for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I just had to turn the VPN off. I mean, I tried a couple of different services as well, and it seems like basically what they're doing, if you're using a VPN and you're in the US, they're just blocking it. Or you know, if the VPN is in the US, they're just blocking you from using Netflix at all.
No, so you think they just have like a blacklist of VPN services that are US based, and if your IP address is from the UK or somewhere else, they block you?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they're doing it. Partly because I'm not sure exactly how VPNs work. Because initially I thought that it was just blanket kind of banning on any VPN, but I'm not sure if they can tell that or not. Because I can still use my work VPN. If I'm connected to that, I can still watch Netflix, like UK Netflix. But their help article seems to suggest basically, there's a little question here. It says, do you use a VPN or proxy for other reasons such as work or for privacy? And they just say, because there's no reliable way for us to determine if a VPN is being used for a legitimate purpose, any VPN you use will prevent you from streaming Netflix. So even if you use it for, you know, privacy or, you know, I think one of the arguments or you know, the points I always see come up in online discussions is US Army and services who are, you know, posted abroad, who will be using a US VPN. They won't be able to access it either.
Right. That makes. I mean, you know, anybody who like had any kind of job where they were like posted in another country for some extended period of time, but weren't really going to like, you know, sell their house and move overseas permanently, I would see that, you know, that could be an issue for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, I mean, that was. I think there was a discussion on Reddit, and there was a few people who, you know, said they were kind of in US Army bases in Europe and other places around the world, and they just couldn't access Netflix anymore. They just had no choice but to turn it off basically and not use it.
You know, what's kind of interesting to me is that they did this, but they I would have thought maybe that they'd wait until the UK service was a little closer to on par with the US version, because from talking to you, it sounds like the UK version of Netflix pales by comparison to the US one.
Oh yeah, I mean, even on just kind of numbers, like the numbers I saw banded around were around 10,000 shows and movies for the US, and the UK has about 3,000.
Wow.
You know, so we're really not getting as much for our money as you guys are. I mean, I will continue to use it because, to be honest, even just for the Netflix original shows, you know, the money I pay is probably worth it. But yeah, I mean, it does seem to be getting slightly better. And I think, as we said before, it's not really Netflix that want to stop you from doing this. It's the studios that are selling Netflix the content.
Right. No, I understand that. I mean, and it reminds me a little bit of these websites now. Like, I mean, one that comes to mind are all the Condé Nast sites like Wired, where you go there, and I think Wired's one of the ones. So you go there, and if you've got an ad blocker turned on, you get this big thing pop up saying, turn off your ad blocker, and we'll let you read our website, or you can pay us like, you know, I don't know, 20 cents an article or something to have no ads. Have you seen that stuff?
Yeah, I did see that a while ago. And it's a little bit weird, because even when I've turned my ad blocker off for Wired, like I've whitelisted them, I still see that message sometimes, and I'm guessing that's because of some other Chrome extension I'm running and they think it's an ad blocker.
Oh, yeah.
And the other weird one that happens, I think it was on Wired, I was reading an article, I was halfway through it, and because their stupid JavaScript was still loading, only then did it pop up the ad blocker thing, and I just, forget it, closed the tab and moved on with my life.
They were doing it for maximum annoyance, right?
Yeah, I mean, it worked. I guess I could have paid, or I could have just closed the tab and go and read the news elsewhere.
Yeah, no, I don't know. We won't talk about ad blockers again, but
let's not.
It really annoys me, all that stuff. Especially when I run, you know, Ghostery and I see the list, and the list is like the length of my entire screen of things that are loading on the page.
Yeah, but you know, they're only trying to make money. Let's not get into it. But you know, they say, "Oh, turn your ad blocker off." You know, we're only trying to show you ads so we can pay the bills. And then, like you say, there's 100 different trackers and all sorts of things going on. So,
yes, sucking my battery and everything.
Exactly. Anyway, let's move on from this before we
get
back into ad blocking again. So we mentioned the Apple event, and I think you were more excited than I was about this event.
Yeah, I was excited about it mainly because it was the first time I'd been covering an Apple event with Mac Story, so that was kind of fun. And I could talk about that a little bit, I suppose. But I actually went to the Apple Store yesterday and looked at all the new stuff, and it's pretty unremarkable when you get down to it. I mean, the iPad it looks just like an iPad Air 2. You can just use a pencil, and I tried out that little keyboard, which, yeah. I mean, I thought it would be unusable. I actually like the smart keyboard on the iPad Pro. Some people don't. It's fine for me. This little one, though, it works pretty well, but it is cramped. It's hard. I found it hard to type on. I didn't try it for a long time, but it definitely would take some adjustment because the keys are just enough closer together and shifted over that I found myself hitting things that I wouldn't normally have hit on the other smart keyboard.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine for the iPad Pro, it's more or less a full-size keyboard, right? Like the kind of similar thing that you get on a laptop.
Yeah, no, it is. It's basically a full-size keyboard. And on the 9.7-inch iPad, they mostly have shrunken down some of the modifier keys, that kind of thing, in order to keep the letter keys as close to normal as possible. But they are smaller and closer together, even those keys. So.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a hard problem to solve, and I guess if people want a keyboard, then, it's going to have to be smaller and a little bit more cramped.
Yeah, I find the keyboard comes in handy. I mean, I have tried a little bit. I'm not really tried a lot to just go pure software keyboard, touch typing on that. I can, I don't know, maybe I'll try it. So I have these thoughts of trying to teach myself to touch type on a software keyboard. Then I think to myself, why? because I mean, I think it works if when you type, you look at your hands, but I learned to touch type so I can type with my eyes shut. And
right.
So, having a real keyboard that I can feel makes a lot more sense for me.
Sure. So, one of the things they announced... Sorry, John, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Did you want to go, or...
No, that's fine. Yeah, they announced watch bands.
They did?
Yes, they did. And lots of new colors all along. I guess cases, too, to match them. But all sorts of different leather, fluoroelastomer, and nylon watch bands. And I know you were thinking about maybe picking up a nylon watch band soon, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be going near the Apple Store probably next week. So I'm going to maybe try and pick up probably the black nylon one.
Is that like black and gray, kind of?
Yeah, it's kind of black, but the woven part is, I guess, like a kind of light greyish. So it's not kind of like pure black. I do want to look at the pink one, but I don't think that's gonna cut it for me.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is I've been to the Apple Store a couple of times since the event, and those watch bands have sold out really fast. Because I was thinking about getting there's kind of a royal blue plastic one. Mm-hmm. And I was, after that talk I gave last Saturday, I was driving back and I had to go past the Apple Store, so I stopped to see if they had it in stock, and they didn't. At that time, all they had the black Milanese loop, which I think looks pretty cool, but at $200, I don't think I'm willing to pull the trigger on that. And then they may have had one or two of the plastic ones, and then a couple of the nylon ones. I think they did have the black one, but most of the colors were already sold out. And when I went back yesterday to the store, they were still most of the watch bands were out of stock.
Yeah, I think this is kind of going to just be a regular thing now. Like they'll just release a load of new bands. I mean, the sport bands, they have so many colors now, and as you say, they've kind of released some matching silicone cases to go with those for the phones.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're probably just going to see this, even if it's kind of just tacked on the end of like, even the WWDC keynote maybe, or the October event. I think they're just going to kind of keep releasing them.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, I think it drives some nerds crazy because it's not technology, and it it's not making the Apple Watch better. But I think people like it. I mean, I like it. I've got like 4 watch bands now. And I like them all. It's fun, and I think some of them are starting to be retired, right? So they'll be collector's items. I don't think they're making the orange one that I have anymore, for instance.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, actually. I think I have the orange one as well. So yeah, that's interesting that they've retired some colours.
Yeah, they came out with a new orange. It's a little bit, maybe a little brighter, maybe a little more yellow. Mm. And cool, it looks good. That's one that I saw when I was there the first week. That wasn't there yesterday though. So yeah, it's cool. I mean, and then in terms of just like the event coverage, it was fun. We just kind of split it all up in advance, and thank goodness for 9 to 5 Mac, because we wrote most of our stuff in advance, and then just fact checked it with the event itself.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's been pretty interesting actually, like to go with what you just said there with 9 to 5 Mac. I mean, they've been pretty much 100% accurate the last 2 or 3 keynotes. I mean, I don't know whether they're getting their information from, whether maybe it's directly from Apple, and Apple are doing this on purpose and they want people to kind of know what's coming or elsewhere. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that we kind of hit these events and we already know more or less everything that's coming.
Yeah, for me it was really easy too because I was just covering the betas. I did the Apple Watch and OS X, and there weren't a ton of changes in there, so I did that over the weekend before the event. And then I picked up Liam the robot, the iPhone disassembly robot, on the fly. So what we did is we were all watching it live and had our Slack open, and as things came up that were new that we hadn't anticipated, we just kind of grabbed them and peeled them off for, one person take this one, another person take that one. So it worked out pretty well. I think we ended up publishing 14 articles.
Sure. So, there's a link tagged March 21st, so which shows all the articles that Mac Stories did on that day. So we'll put that in the show notes. Was there anything else from the Apple event you wanted to mention?
Oh, yeah, there was. Almost forgot. The thing that I thought was the most interesting is the USB-C charger, because it is amazing what it does in terms of charging up an iPad Pro. And what's interesting too is that the new iPad, the new iPad Pro, the 9.7-inch one, is not compatible with this charger. It's only the Pro. And Federico did some tests using an app that I think Marco Arment had created for himself when he was testing out Overcast, and tested charging with the charger that comes in the box, which is 15 watts, and then the 29 watt charger, and the difference in charge times was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, there's some interesting graphs and info in that article. I mean, I assume you should have got your iPad Pro, right? I assume you're going to go and pick one of these up.
I already have one, yes. And it was funny. It was one of the few times that Federico was able to get something in Italy before I could get it here, because we ordered almost simultaneously right after the event. And I got my adapter brick first on Friday or Thursday or Friday, but my cable didn't come until the next Tuesday. But Apple also made a mistake. They sent me 2 adapters instead of 1. I only paid for 1.
Oh dear.
It's like a $50 bonus, because those things are not cheap. Because it's $50 for that, and then I forget what the cable is, maybe $20 or something like that. It's a fairly expensive combo. But if you look at these graphs, with the screen off, the charge time went from 213 minutes to 93 minutes. And then some of the other things he tested, with the screen on and with video playing and other things like that, went anywhere from, with the screen at 100% brightness, the 12 watt adapter took 732 minutes to charge, whereas the 29 watt charger was only 107 minutes. So, and it was very consistent no matter what activity was going on. And with the 12 watt charger, the times varied quite a bit, but they were much longer. With the 29 watt charger, they were all in kind of the 100 to 110 minute range for the most part.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, so it makes a huge difference in terms of the amount of time. And I think he was testing going from 0 to 80%, because that's what, on Apple's battery page, that's the statistic which they quote, because once you get to 80% on all devices, it's like a trickle charge afterwards. So
yeah, sure. I mean, as you say, if you're the kind of person, if you've got your iPad Pro, it sounds like, let's be honest, it sounds like this really should be in the box with the iPad Pro.
Yeah, it really should. I don't know if it's because it's probably because of a couple things. It may not have been ready, because I can't imagine why this wasn't introduced at the same time as the iPad Pro. So it undoubtedly wasn't ready, and it's significantly more expensive than the 12 watt one. So it may just be a margins thing too.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, it was fun.
Cool. Our next topic, John, is you tweeted me and you said, "Come on, Rob, you need to download this app." And this is Nintendo's new app called Miitomo.
Miitomo, yes. It's a really strange app. It felt
like a loading screen simulator. It was just constant loading screens for me.
My phone actually gets pretty hot using it. I don't know. I mean, I think it's doing a lot of, it's downloading a lot of things over the internet.
Yeah, it's definitely doing something. I mean, it took me maybe 15 minutes to get into the app. By which point I'm already pretty pissed off and didn't really want to use it.
Yeah, I haven't had too much trouble, but you know what? It's very much not a typical iPhone app in terms of its look and feel. Like the design is very Nintendo, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that in itself is kind of strange to see on your phone. But if you think of it as kind of a game, which it is really, I think, then you can give it a little more. At least I give it a little more leeway because in terms of the design, because games, there's no real design language for any particular game. I mean, that's the one category that does their own thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, maybe I just hit it at a bad time when the servers were slow or whatever, but I finally managed to get through and, set up my character and all this kind of stuff. And I tried it for maybe 5-10 minutes and I was just like, this is not for me. I just deleted it, unfortunately.
Oh, you did? Because I went back and visited you again this morning.
John, I couldn't even work out how to use it. I don't know what that means. Did you come to where I live, like in the app? Is that you come and see me?
Basically, yes. You're in a room. Yes, I went to there's like a friends tab, and you can kind of scroll through your friends, and then tap on them and visit them in their little place that they live.
Right.
So I came and visited you, and it was very clear that you had not been using the app because you didn't have much to say.
No, I didn't know what to make of this, John.
So it's kind of like a chat app, right? It's a little bit like it's a social network, effectively. Parts of it actually remind me of Peach. Remember Peach?
Oh, yeah.
Because conversations are not like they are on Twitter, where you've got one timeline and you just kind of scroll through everything. If you're gone for a while and you go back and you look at like your recent messages, it's not really. It'll list like. It'll show anything that you've seen or commented on, but you have to kind of go person by person or question by question to kind of see what other people have said in the thread, which I think that's probably the weakest point of it. That's a little tedious, and I don't even bother.
Yeah.
But I do think it's kind of cool that what they do is kind of asynchronous. I mean, you don't have to, if you get on it and your friends aren't there at the moment, it doesn't really matter. Like if you went on Twitter and no one you knew was tweeting at the time, there wouldn't be much to do, right?
Sure.
But on this, because you're answering these questions like, what's your favorite food? And, what did you do today? That sort of thing. Those questions are all just kind of there in the database. And when someone goes, it presents it to the person using the app. And you can just kind of tap through all those answers and comment on them and like them and all that kind of thing. It doesn't require that the person necessarily be active at that moment on Miitomo.
Sure. Yeah, I did get as far as that, answering which my favourite food was. And I think you commented back and said, "Yep, the same," because I'd said pizza or something. I feel like a 10-year-old when I said somebody goes, "What's your favourite food?" And I was like, "Pizza."
Yes.
Nothing fancy, just whatever pizza. I don't really care.
No, that's what I said too.
But yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think I can see the appeal of it.
I've leveled up, Rob.
You've leveled. Stop it.
I have. I've leveled up both my style. I'm now a boutique fashionista, I think.
Well, there you go.
Because I changed my clothes a bunch, and I also leveled up my friend level because I'm nice to people.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that's probably where the app would fall down for me.
Yes, every now and then you see someone trying to be ironic on it, and it's pretty funny because it's weird. It's a really strange app.
Yeah, definitely. It did remind me of the what was the thing on the Wii where all your little Mii characters would kind of wander around a little square and.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what that's called.
I don't know what that's called, but like it kind of, because obviously it's built in the same kind of style and based on the same thing.
Yeah, I never really used that. But and you know who joined overnight was Frank.
Yeah, I saw.
Frank looks like he might have just gotten addicted to it, because when I got up this morning, it was wall to wall Frank.
Oh dear, I don't see it, and then it makes me look like I'm the one who just I'm the weird one now because I'm the only one not doing it. This is peer pressure at its worst.
It is. It really is. But it's kind of, it's a little bit addictive once you get into it, and it's very strange, and it's a little bit fun. I don't know. I'm not really sure I'm going to stick with it that much. Although I did go back. So what did it come out? It came on Friday, right?
I think so.
Thursday or Friday. I think it was Thursday, actually, now that I think of it. I think it was Thursday. And I use it a lot on Thursday. It's the kind of thing I can see myself using on the train just to kill time.
Yeah, sure.
When I'm completely brain dead, because that's the kind of activity it is.
I mean, it definitely sounds like it falls more into the category of a game than a social network.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, kind of, answering questions and this kind of stuff. Although it has got a social aspect, it definitely feels more like a game.
And it takes little pictures of you every now and then in your outfits and shares them with people. It's just really weird. And you get coins, and you can use the coins to buy, clothes.
Sure.
They're not coins that you buy with real, with real money. At least not yet. You earn them by being active in the app, basically doing things.
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of cool. I've only been on it let's see, maybe yesterday I was on it for 15, 20 minutes. Maybe 5 or 10 minutes when I got up this morning.
Sure. Okay. Well,
having breakfast and seeing if you would come back.
I haven't, John. I probably won't.
That's okay.
So, if people want to download it, they want to interact with me, then they're out of luck because I'm not downloading it again. But you're on there, John. So, they can ask you about food and all sorts of things.
Yeah, we've already covered everything. I mean, we've already said that you like pizza. So, what else is there to look for?
Oh,
you did a good job. Your me looked like you, Rob. I thought it was a good one.
It was all right. I was pretty impressed with it.
I thought you did a good job.
So anyway, I think let's leave that. This is not the Me Tomo show. So you got your Braggy Dash, which is such a terrible name. These are the little wireless earbuds that you ordered a while ago and we spoke about.
Yeah, I mean it's been a little bit of a disaster. These are not good, and I would not recommend them to anybody. Is kind of the bottom line. I got them because I thought it would be really cool to finally be totally wireless, where you could just put an earbud in each ear and not have any wires whatsoever. Because I've got Bluetooth headphones now, but at a minimum, most Bluetooth headphones have a wire that goes behind your head to each ear, and these don't have that at all. It's just it's kind of like hearing aids, right? They just go right into your ear. Yeah. And I got first of all, this was a Kickstarter that made $3.3 million, so it did really well. And it was a typical hardware Kickstarter that was delayed months and months and months. I think maybe as long as a year. I don't even remember. I remember seeing it when it came out and thinking to myself, I'm not going to support this because this is one of those that's gonna end badly. and it kind of did. I mean, it eventually did. It did come out. But very delayed, and I got excited about it and ordered them right after they were shown off at CES, and I guess it's late January, and they were supposed to ship within 2 or 3 weeks. Well, they didn't show up until the very end of March. It came last Saturday, I think, and I fired them up, and the initial experience was really good. They fit well. The sound was decent. The reception was good with my phone. I didn't have trouble setting it up. But I found turns out that was because I was inside in large measure, because what they do is one ear, the right ear, connects to your phone by Bluetooth, and then the left ear connects to the right ear by a hearing aid technology that I can never remember the name of that I wrote. If you join Club Mac Stories, you can get the full details and the name of the technology, because it was in the monthly newsletter, and I don't have that in front of me. But yeah, it connects to the left ear with some hearing aid technology, and when you're indoors, the Bluetooth signals will bounce off your walls and help with the reception to the headphones. So I went out, but that's not really where I'm going to use these. These are for walking to the train station, going out for a run, that kind of thing. So I did that. I was going to write about them, so I went for a run last Sunday with them in, and the minute I walked out the door, the audio started dropping out because I didn't have anything to bounce off of. My phone was in my left pocket, and I remember reading somewhere in the comments that that the Bluetooth was in the right earbud. So I moved my phone from my left pocket to the right pocket, and then it worked, which to me, that was a really bad sign, because it really shouldn't make, to me, it shouldn't make that much difference which pocket you have your phone in. I mean, we're still only talking about, I know it has to go through your body and everything, but we're only talking about a couple of feet of distance here. So I put it in the right-hand pocket, went for a run, and it was a lot better then. It tended to drop out a lot when I got to intersections with traffic signals, because I think there was some sort of radio waves coming off of the equipment that was interfering with the Bluetooth. And then I tried this thing called, they have this audio transparency where you can swipe on one of the earbuds, because they have touch sensors in the lower half of the earbuds to kind of navigate the various features. And I swiped on there, and it has a microphone in it, so it suddenly will pick up the background around you, so you can hear people talking to you or whatever. But it was really weird because it's no longer directional. I was listening to listening to Hello Internet, and it sounded like everything around me was happening in the podcast. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because it wasn't like the sound of a car that was coming down the road from my left was coming from my left. It was like it was coming through both ears, right in front of me, like when you're listening to a podcast. So it was very, very strange sensation to have the real world around you overlaid onto people talking. But it worked pretty well. But it also has stuff in it. It has like 4 gigabytes of onboard storage, so you can go out without even bringing your phone if you want to listen to music. It's got step counter and heart rate functions to track your heart rate, and the heart rate functions didn't work at all. The readings were incredibly low compared to my watch, and then they never changed. And then I had a very hard time accessing them because the controls on the earbuds are very fiddly, which is not something you want when you're out running, to have to stop and get it all just right, and swipe and tap and all that stuff just the right way on the side of your head. So the bottom line is they kind of suck, and I'm returning them. And now I'm having trouble returning them because they won't respond to me. It's one of those, send us an email and say you want to return them, and we'll send you, return information. And they're not responding. So hopefully I'll get that squared away soon.
Yeah, so it sounds, like you say, you kind of refer to them as a typical hardware Kickstarter, and it kind of sounds like they've really, rounded that off by actually not being a particularly good product at the end of it either.
Yeah. I think it has a lot of promise, and I think the technology will get there eventually. But, and one thing that's really clever is they've got this little storage case where you put the earbuds in that, it holds them in place magnetically, and the case itself holds a charge, so you can put them in the case and it'll charge them up like 2 or 3 times just from the case, which I think is a really clever thing that they did. But the problem I have is that and I could forgive some of the the extra features perhaps not working particularly well, but the fact that if I want to use these while I'm walking down to the train, I need to make sure that my phone is either in my right hand or in my right pocket, not in my left pocket, kind of defeats the whole purpose of the liberation you get from having Bluetooth headphones. Yeah,
sure. I think, as you say, it sounds like it's a good first start and a good first product for this kind of category of, proper Bluetooth earbuds, without any wires. And, I agree with you. I think that is an ideal scenario. You've just got the 2 little earbuds, you plug them in, off you go. But I think it sounds like maybe, their Bluetooth tech is not ideal in the earbud, because normal Bluetooth headphones tend to work across that distance, but I guess it depends where the receiver is. But this kind of thing, I think in 5 years this is probably going to be great, but right now it sounds like these really just don't meet the standards that are kind of usable.
Right. No, I suspect they have a teeny tiny antenna, and that's the problem. Part of the problem they have. The ones with the cord behind your head, probably the cord is acting as an antenna as well, and making it easier. So that's that's what I'm balancing this against is, these Braggy Dash headphones are $300, whereas I've got a pair of Plantronics Bluetooth headphones that were only $78 on Amazon. So, and they're reliable, and they seem to be fairly sturdy. So definitely not worth going more than we go 4 times that price.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I think that's probably about it for saying what's bad about these. They sound promising, but yeah, let's. Twitter did something that's not completely terrible, like usual. Actually, like useful to people.
Yeah. I mean, what was that they did?
Yeah, so they've added. Essentially, it's the ability to add alt text to images, and this is great for people who use screen readers and on iOS voiceover, things like that. Kind of anyone who's visually impaired, things like that. So this allows you to add basically a description of an image when you upload it to Twitter. And before we started recording, we were speaking, and I checked, and right now Twitter don't put anything in the alt tag when you upload an image, which is just terrible for accessibility. It's really not good because a screen reader will just hit that and won't be able to give a description for that image at all. So this
would a screen reader be able to read the text of the tweet still?
So I guess it would. I mean, I think that might have to be specific to Twitter. So the way a screen reader normally works, it will find an image, and it will read the alt text and describe that image based on that alt text, which is the description that Twitter are allowing you to add now. I mean, it would have presumably read the tweet before it hits the image. But not having an alt text there is really bad for accessibility.
Yeah, it's kind of funny in the announcement they made it sound like they had invented this or something.
Oh, sure, I know. I mean, this is something that probably should have been there for a long time.
Right. Yeah, no, I tested it out because I thought it would be kind of one of the things that people do on Twitter with some frequency is do text shots to get around the 140 character limit. And this alt tag that they've enabled on Twitter allows for text. I think it's 420 characters, 3 times the length of a tweet.
Sure.
So now text shots are a little more accessible, and so I tested it out, and it works great. I took a text shot of a paragraph of an article on the web, and then pasted in the text as the description, and turned on accessibility, and it worked really well.
Sure. I mean, text shots are a perfect example of that, and even for somebody like me who's not using a screen reader or something like that, sometimes I want to be able to copy the text from something that somebody's tweeted in a text shot, and obviously I can't do that very easily without going to the article and finding that particular section.
That's true. How would you do that with this? Just you'd have to open the developer tools, wouldn't you?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, I'd have to inspect the element and find the alt tag, but the point is that should always be there. I think I've never really been a fan of text in images. I mean, I understand why it happens on Twitter, just because of the short length of a tweet, but it's just not good for. The good example is obviously visually impaired using screen readers, but actually just in general, like I think text should be text, and I should be able to copy it, and of course text shots really don't allow you to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I did a little video that you can check out online. I'm a YouTuber now, apparently.
Well, there you go.
Demonstrating this feature. So we'll have a link in the show notes.
So talking to YouTube, this is one of the places that you probably shouldn't read the comments.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I had a little bit of experience with this week, or I guess the beginning of the week. Not specific to YouTube, but it kind of just reminded me about the comments on YouTube, which seem to be the worst on the internet. So I launched a site, I guess last weekend, because we had a long weekend here in the UK. So it was a 4-day weekend, and I just thought, you know what, I've had this idea for a while, and I just sat down and got it launched, and it's a guide to bricklink.com, which is a marketplace for buying and selling Lego, basically. Sets and spare pieces and things like that. And the site's about 15 years old, and the interface really hasn't changed very much in that 15 years. And it can be pretty complicated to use for new users and stuff like that. So I kind of wrote this guide to buying on there. And the reaction was pretty good. And a few Lego fan sites kind of picked it up and wrote about it. And then I started reading the comments on these news articles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never a good idea.
These are comments on the other sites, not on your site, because you've got the comments shut off, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. I never have comments on my sites. It's not worth it. It was the time. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of more this attitude on the internet of everything should be free and made exactly for me, not me personally, but, the person who's reading it or looking at something. And there was one guy that was like, he found like 2 spelling mistakes on one of the pages, and it was just like, this is absolutely terrible. I can't possibly use this site because of these ridiculous spelling mistakes. I mean, do you know what? I've given you something for free. This is not costing you anything. Just get over it, or send me an email and tell me that there's these spelling mistakes, because it took me ages to find what the hell he was talking about.
Yeah, he didn't even pinpoint for you where they were, right?
Oh no, and even when he said, "Oh, if you really want to know, you can message me." So I messaged him, and he went, "Oh, I don't have time to tell you where they all are." So forget it. I just shouldn't have even bothered messaging him. But yeah, it was just one of those things where I was kind of getting a bit frustrated, and I was like, "This is why you don't read the comments for anything."
Yeah. So where'd you get the ads from? Did you do a deal with the Minifig store in the UK? Is that, I mean, that's what the ads I'm seeing here.
Yeah, sure. No, they have an affiliate scheme.
Okay. So I know about those.
Yeah, you're the expert. So they just have an affiliate. There's just an affiliate parameter on the end of that URL. They keep track of that. So I have got another site where I run Google AdSense ads, but for this site I kind of wanted to make sure it was pretty specific to the audience I was getting.
It makes sense.
And the Minifig store are great. I've ordered from them before. The guy who runs it's a really nice guy. He's really helpful. So I figured that might be a good start to, maybe just try and see if I can make some money off of it. So
yeah, no, I'm sure people gave you a hard time about that too, right?
Yeah, people always do, but it's fine. I can live with it. They're not intrusive ads either. There's no tracking going on my end. It's just cookie tracking on the store. They're not loaded with JavaScript. They're just normal images. There's nothing fancy going on. So it's not causing a huge amount of problems or anything like that.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, hey, I'm all for making money.
Yeah, sure.
You went to all this trouble. I mean, this is actually, I was looking through this, and it makes it a lot easier to use Bricklink, because you and I were talking before we started about like prices on some Lego. Sorry,
that's all right. I let you off.
and you're right. I mean, it was, you have to. Some of the stuff is kind of buried on the site, so it's helpful to have a guide.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think there's a couple of problems with the site. I mean, one is that it's old, so it's kind of, and because the UI hasn't been updated for so long, it's kind of, it looks a bit dated. But I think that the biggest problem they've got, I mean, you're looking at, I don't know how many Lego sets have been released, over the kind of 40 years or whatever, but because it's a catalogue of pieces that Lego have made as well, it looks like 3 million pieces or something.
Wow.
Unique pieces. They've got something like 9,000 different sellers on there. There's just a lot of data going on, and I think it's a difficult problem to solve to kind of make it pretty usable.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard design problem, but I'm like looking at it right now because you sent me a link to this Batmobile, and they've got a whole series. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They've got 13 tabs across the top, and then just the catalog tab alone then has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 more tabs, right?
Sure.
And then you scroll down the page to where the price guide is, and there's the price guide. But there's also items for sale and set inventory, so there's 3 tabs there. I mean, this is a really there's a lot of information, a lot of things going on this website.
Sure, and they do have a lot of kind of duplicate functionality. So you can get to like this page you're on now with the the catalog and stuff like that. you can kind of get to that from about 4 different places. So you've got kind of search, or you can browse the catalog. There's a few different places you can get to it. And I kind of noticed this as I was writing the site, that a lot of their tabs in different places are actually the same kind of functionality, but they're just named something slightly different.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's probably a little bit of their problem as well. So yeah, but I mean, the site's been pretty popular, and most people have been nice about it. It was just a few people.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you get people, I don't know. People can be terrible. Believe me, I've started to find that out already. The more I'm online, the more I'm doing the writing and stuff. Although most people have been really good, but every now and then you get those people who just want to tell you. I'll tell you one thing that's the worst thing to write so far is when you do a roundup of a whole bunch of different apps, because then you get the people come out of the woodwork. Why didn't you cover X?
Sure. Yeah,
that's. I like to respond to them and say, I did consider X and I didn't do it because it sucks. I'm usually more polite than that, but yes.
Yeah, that was actually one of the most common comment I got, because the site only covers buying on Bricklink, not selling, because you can obviously set up as a seller and sell logo. So it only covers buying. And the amount of people that just said, well, this is useless to me, I want to know how to sell on Bricklink. Well, do you know what? Go learn how to do it and you write your own site.
Yeah, it's not the point. And if you covered everything in the detail that Bricklink covers it, all you would have done then is duplicate Bricklink.
Exactly. So
it would be just as confusing and complicated.
Well, that was actually one of the hardest parts of it. I kind of, because I'd been putting it off for a while, you know what it's like. You have these ideas and you're like, oh, well, before I start writing it, I really should do this or do that. And I decided to just write everything, and then I'd worry about the site later. And once I'd written everything, I was cutting and pasting. I'm like, right, just which section should these all go in? Because it's kind of, although there's like 11 or 12 articles on there, they're kind of all related. You could kind of go through them all in one go. So I was kind of trying to find out the best way to kind of split them up without making it too complicated.
Yep.
So.
Yep. No, I like what you did. I'm definitely going to check this out, because now we're thinking about selling. I mean, I know your guide doesn't cover selling, but it's a good introduction to how Bricklink works, which I haven't really ever used. So I think I'll start with your guide.
So is there anything else, John, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, the one other thing I thought I'd mention is one of our listeners, Chris Morrissey, has an app called Agenda Minder coming out on Monday. Look for a little mini review on Mac Stories about it. It's an app for kind of getting ready for and making meetings more productive by coming up with agendas and assigning them to people and having a game plan when you go into a meeting. And it's a cool little app, and it's going to be on the Mac App Store on Monday.
If Chris can solve meetings not being a complete waste of everybody's time, then I think he's really onto something there.
I know. I thought that actually was kind of the definition of a meeting, and actually the purpose of a meeting was to waste people's time. But apparently, some people are doing it right, and Chris is helping them do that. So I commend him for that.
Sure. Yeah. It's so yeah, as you say, there'll be a little mini review on Mac Stories, and we'll make sure that's in the show notes by the time the show comes out, probably. But if not, I'll make sure I'll make sure it gets put there as soon as the article's available.
Yeah, I'm not sure when it's going to go up, but we'll see. I have to write it first.
I'm sure it'll be fine. We'll if it's not there when you're listening to this, check back in a day, and I'm sure it'll be in the show notes by then.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, I guess we'll let's wrap it up for this week, I think.
Sounds good to me.
So show notes are at ruminatepodcast.com/17. I am on Twitter. I'm at RMLewisUK. And John, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at John Voorhees.
Perfect. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
All right, great. See you later, Rob.
Bye.